Hi, I'm Gene Carr. Welcome to the Eagle's Eye, Catching Up with Berkshire Visionaries. Today I'm here with Will Conklin, who's the Executive Director of Greenagers. Greenagers works to inspire teens and young adults to develop deep connections to land, work, and community. The organization prepares youth for success in work and life by offering paid jobs and education in the areas of conservation, sustainable farming, and related trades. Will, delighted to be here. I would like for you to tell us more about the organization in your own words.
Gladly, and thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. So essentially what we do at the core is assemble young people together and put them outside in various enterprises. That could be through our Conservation and Trails program, that could be through our Sustainable Farming program based at our headquarters in South Egremont at April Hill. We do Pathways to the Trades, where we involve young people in hands-on trades-related work like carpentry and small-scale electric and plumbing projects, and getting them to get familiar with what might be available to them in that department. And then we have an education department that goes into the schools mainly, working in out-of-school time, after-school, summers, as an introductory platform to just show kids, look, this is what's out here, this is what it means to be outside, this is what some of the programs that Greenagers does, this is what, these are the types of amazing other organizations that are in our community that help steward the earth. There's so much out there, and I think one of the things that we can do best is just to highlight all the great opportunities for youth out there through that program.
You know, this is a visionary organization, and I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about how did you invent it? What was your inspiration? You know, organizations like this just don't pop out of thin air. So what was your inspiration?
Well, I invented it just as much as Columbus discovered America, but I was inspired, I think, chiefly through some work with Landmark Volunteers, which was based in the Berkshires and did work nationwide with youth. Essentially, I did a number of gigs working with groups of young people, 8 to 12 young people on service projects around the nation, from a no-kill animal shelter in Maine to a progressive cattle ranch in Colorado to the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho. And what that showed me was that, look, a group of young people can really get a lot of meaningful work done on the projects that they're working on. What was even more striking to me was the development as humans that happened as part of, in this case, it was a 2-week trip. And what I saw was that young people becoming more confident in themselves, more able to talk to each other, engaging in discussions and conversations that were out of the ordinary, or were just something different to them. You could see them sort of thinking through, oh, wow, this is different. This is opening up new parts of the minds, and that was the most amazing part to me. I mean, as any educator will tell you, that when you see those sparks in the classroom or otherwise, that's always the best piece. So from there, the piece that I wanted to see happen here was, well, instead of having young people come from disparate places and work in an amazing space and then go home, I thought, well, how amazing would it be if young people could work in our community, develop more bonds to our community and each other, and thereby have a more deep connection to the community and to themselves, and then also be active participants in improving our community.
And in a given year, across all of your programs, how many kids do you work with?
We employ over 70 each year, and this past year, through all of our programming, we had well over 600 youth come through our programs.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your programs.
Yes, I'll start with the longest standing,
okay,
and one that whose model might be most familiar to folks. Our conservation teams go out in crews of typically about 8 folks, 2 leaders, 6 youth, though the leaders are often technically youth themselves under the age of 24. And they go out and they break new trail, build bridges on trails, they clear invasive species, they plant native species, they work in city parks, they work for land trusts. In the summer, they're all throughout our county and beyond doing work with each other. And it's based on a youth corps type model. And that model grew out of things like the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 30s. Our sustainable farming program, sustainable agriculture, That's a newer one, at least in the scale that it is now. For years, we had a program that we call Front Lawn Food, where we install raised bed vegetable gardens for families, for income-eligible families.
Okay.
And for years, we just did 10 of those every year. And then one of our board members had the great idea, well, there's folks that want these that can pay for them. So why don't we ask folks to pay for them, and we can build in the cost of one installed for an income-eligible family.
Right.
So that allowed us to double the number of beds that we install for income-eligible folks.
So you installed these, for lack of a better term, gardens.
Yeah, yeah.
And then are you teaching the folks for whom you're installing, you're teaching them how to care for them, or do you come back and,
yeah,
how does that work?
We employ youth in putting those gardens in. So that little germ of an idea and program, once we moved to our current location at April Hill Conservation and Education Center in Egremont, we were able to grow that into what is now an amazing sustainable farm system and education system for agriculture.
Amazing. Now, you also did something around during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that project.
It was a collaboration amongst 5 community organizations. Greenagers, Flying Cloud Institute, Flying Deer Nature Center, Volunteers in Medicine, and Berkshire South Community Center. And I mean, and in the nonprofit world, when we get out of Berkshire County, folks always tell me, you know, you guys do collaboration really well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an instance that really showed, you know, me and all of us how true that is.
Yeah.
And it was incredible because we, in the face of COVID and having hybrid school schedules and having parents trying to figure out what am I going to do with my kids, and having schools trying to figure out how we're going to educate these kids.
Right.
We tried to step in. This coalition stepped in to say, we will take as many kids as we can in these 2 spaces at April Hill and at Berkshire South, and we will do the best we can to keep their studies going, and we will keep them safe, and we will make sure that their social emotional wellness is cared for. At Greenagers, what that actually looked like was on any given day, 30 to 40 young people outside all day through the whole winter with fires going to keep warm, with canvas tents set up for middle schoolers with Wi-Fi projected in it so they could keep up with their studies, with adventures in the woods, with rolling in the snow, with, you know, figuring out how to do all this on the fly in the middle of a pandemic. And it was an unbelievable lift for all of our staffs. Yeah. And, you know, we haven't, I don't know if we'll ever be able to do a sort of a longitudinal study on these folks, but that I am certain that the kids that were able to participate in that didn't have the setbacks that many of their peers nationwide might have.
Yeah, so I want to dive in a particular area. The notion of getting kids outside working. So there's a bunch of aspects. I'll just start with I assume that when they're outside, they're not on their phones.
Correct.
So let me, I would say that you're absolutely a contrarian organization with respect to the world we live in which kids are essentially more and more on their devices, and getting them off their devices proves challenging for any parent I've ever talked to. Yep. So talk to me about how that works.
Well, first of all, we just have a policy. No phones while at work. Folks are able to check them at break or at lunch, and they inevitably do. But I do think we underestimate the self-awareness of youth as well. When we ask them sometimes, hey, do you think your generation is on technology too much? And most of the time they say, yeah, I think there's an understanding of the relationship there. That's not to say that we all have understandings of our either addictions or shortfalls and may not change them. But we provide that opportunity to just set your phone aside and get together and let's work on a collaborative project. And to my mind, that it's not just about the prescriptive put away your phone. That's just a side thing. It's about we all have to get together and do this project together, because especially with trail crews, this is your job. We're paying you to do this. There's an accountability level here, and this is the program. So let's get out there and do it. And when they're applying for the job and signing up for the job, they understand that that's what the main gig is, and that's what we got to do.
And how do you track the impact of your programs on these kids? What are the ways that you can either see by happenstance or even with data?
We do, survey the youth at the end of every season, and we ask them things like, name 3 skills that you've acquired.
Right.
And they're always able to do something like that. Name 3 different places that you went that you hadn't been before. Do you feel more connected to your community? Inevitably, it's 4 or 5 out of 5 more connected. Do you feel more connected to your peers? Same deal. So from a data standpoint, absolutely. And then anecdotally, either through their written responses or just verbal responses, either after a season or down the line a few years, inevitably they say this program gave me more confidence, this program gave me some skills, this program, I just felt physically stronger at the end of the season.
You've been at this a while.
Yeah.
The organization has grown. Anyone that spends any time on the website will realize the number of simultaneous programs you're running is extraordinary. So I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about kind of the next 5 years, if you will. Mm-hmm. Where would you like to take the organization from where you're at now?
We want to continue doing what we're doing, where we're doing it, try to deepen the experiences for youth where we can. And looking throughout our region, we want to do more work in Central and North Berkshire County. Past couple of years, we've had a crew in Holyoke, Mass. We always want to go to spaces and communities that want us. So it's first about making sure there's a need. And what I've found is that when a community is asking for help, and you can say, we'd love to help you on this project, and we'd like to include your community's youth in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What better solution to building community and also making a community more attractive to folks coming in, to make the community more livable and recreatable for its residents. Young people are the ones doing it. How can we better have folks feel more invested and want to stick around?
Right. And how is the organization funded?
We'll take it where we can get it. I'll probably ask you when we finish up here. No, we have, for the Berkshire United Way, we have our local cultural councils. We have a wonderful array of local donors and philanthropists that support us. Private foundations and grants, state funds, federal funds. Our trail crews work on the Appalachian Trail every single year, improving it in Connecticut and Massachusetts with federal funds. So it runs the gamut, and we really do work hard to find all the money. The other piece is that, in a similar way to youth feeling invested in their work because they're hired, the trail crews in particular go out on a fee-for-service model, mm-hmm. where the organizations we work with, we ask a per diem contract rate.
Nice.
At the same time, we say, if this isn't tenable for your organization, we'll help you find the funds. But what that equates to is folks are coming to us with projects where both they have the skin in the game and they really want the project done. This is not make work. This is something that's really valuable to them.
Now, what about your, let's call them graduates, but X number of years on, can you tell some of the impact that it's had and maybe some case studies of things that have occurred that maybe surprised you or thrilled you?
Yeah. I'll start at the very beginning. A young man that worked with us on the Riverwalk, a space that we've been working in from the very beginning here in Great Barrington. Yeah. He was an apprentice. He had some tough times in school and was on kind of an alternative track to trying to graduate, and that apprenticeship was part of that deal. We had a great connection. We worked together a lot, and he started working with our team. And it was interesting. We, as we worked with him, we really tried to, open up some options around maybe college or further education. What do you want to do? And he found his way, and he's actually still around. He opened up his own landscaping business, and he's thriving. A few years ago, a young woman was working on our trail cruise. This was a new opportunity or experience for her. After that experience, she worked with us for a few years, and she said, I'm gonna maybe take this out and do some trail crew work out in Colorado. And so she did that, and long story short, in a couple of years down the line, she's now a trained professional arborist working in the eastern part of the state, and she comes back and teaches workshops in our Young Women in Conservation and Agriculture conference every year.
This is amazing. What things haven't I asked you about that you want people to know about?
You asked what we want to do in the next 5 years, and We acquired this space that we're in now, April Hill, about 4 years ago, 2019. We had a vision for it as a community space and as a learning space for young people, as did Mary Margaret Kellogg, who was the woman that donated it to Appalachian Trail Conservancy first, and by extension us. You know, we were able to utilize it in an amazing way during COVID, as I explained with Club. We really have had and have a vision for that is now coming to fruition. And it's a space where our Pathways to the Trades program operates out of the barn workshop. It's the space where the Sustainable Farm works. It's the home space for the Trails program. And it's increasingly becoming a space for the education team to welcome groups from afar. We've had groups from the Bronx. We've had groups from the Boston area. We've had groups from Darrow School and any number of places to come, the Berkshire School and local public high schools. And what we want to do is make that space more well known for public schools and other entities to come and see what's going on there, learn about the sustainable agriculture that's happening, chop some wood for the community firewood bank, and see the wetlands and learn about the ecosystems of the wetland forest, to name just a few.
Sure.
But what we're developing is an extraordinarily vibrant community space and education space that's pretty unique to this area. And so I would like to further develop that and link into the network of other spaces that are like that throughout the region and the country.
Fantastic. So if people want to learn more, want to donate, want to get involved, if parents are watching and want their kids to be involved, where should they look?
They can certainly find us on the web, greenagers.org. If they're local, they can just give us a call and come by April Hill in South Egremont. And we also welcome folks to come out and see crews in action, especially in the summer when there's a lot of activity going on, or come by and see the farm. It's just it's an incredible space.
Excellent. Well, I think I'm going to take you up on that
Good.
offer. So thanks for sharing what you're doing. It's extraordinary. It's visionary. It's helping the community become more of a community. So thank you for stopping by and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.